Jesus is teaching us about the nature of good intentions. I think also these readings today teach us about humility. So you know what they say about good intentions. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The elder son in the parable says, I'm on my way, but never did go. For him, it was enough that his desire, that his intention was to go. That was enough. So when we go before God, do you think He's going to ask us, what good things did you intend to do with your life? Now, we know clearly that He's going to look at us and say, so what have you done? You know, Jesus says, it's not those who cry out, Lord, Lord, but those who do my Father's will. To cry out, Lord, Lord is already to have some kind of faith. But to have some kind of faith is still, it's not enough. One of C.S. Lewis's masterpieces is a little book called Mere Christianity. And in that little book, he's got this quote. He said, every time you make a choice, you are turning the central part of you, the part of you that chooses, into something a little different from what it was before. And taking your life as a whole with all your innumerable choices, all your life long, you're slowly turning this central thing into a creature that is in harmony with God, or to a creature that is in harmony with hell. He said if we're in harmony with God, it means we're in harmony with other creatures, with other beings, with other humans, and within ourselves. To be the one kind of creature, he said, is heaven. That is, it is joy and peace and knowledge and power. But he says to be the other means madness, horror, idiocy, rage, impotence, and eternal loneliness. And he says each of us, at each moment, is progressing towards one state or the other. Thomas Merton was orphaned when he was 16 years old. By the time he was 20, he had become a full-fledged communist. At the age of 23, he found Christ. At 24, he joined the New York Times as a reporter. And then, after 2 short years, he put all of his possessions into a duffel bag, went to Kentucky, and became a Trappist monk. He wrote a best-selling spiritual autobiography called The Seven-Story Mountain, which is fascinating. I encourage you to read it if you haven't already. And he described the first step in his conversion process. This is what he wrote. He says, the whole thing passed in a flash. I was overwhelmed with a sudden and profound insight into the misery and corruption of my own soul. And I was filled with horror at what I saw. And my soul desired to escape this horror from all this with an intensity and an urgency unlike anything I'd ever experienced, anything I've ever known. And so Merton says for the first time in his life, he really prayed. Really prayed. It also illustrates that the change of heart that happened in the son that first refused his father's invitation. So what is it that causes a person to have a change of heart like that? See, Jesus invites us to follow him. That invitation is just as direct as the father was to his two sons. Jesus says, "Come and follow me and be a part of my kingdom." St. Paul reflects that call so beautifully, so powerfully, so clearly in that second reading from Philippians. And it's really the highlight of that passage that we have today is highlighting the humility of Jesus. Jesus, who was the second person of the Trinity, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, who was begotten, not made. He existed all eternity with the Father. He and the Father are one. And yet, he took the form, St. Paul says, of a servant, of a slave. So St. Paul says, do nothing out of selfishness or vainglory. He says, rather, humbly regard others as more important than yourselves, looking out for others' interests. Every time we make that decision to put ourselves before others, to put my way before God's ways, we're turning into that creature that is described by C.S. Lewis. And every time that we humble ourselves, that we refuse to be self-centered, refuse to do things for our own vanity, that we were put others first, we are turning into that heavenly creature that he talked about. I read something the other day from a place called the Center for Creative Leadership. It's located in North Carolina. They did a study about 21 high potential executives who were terminated or forced to retire early from their companies. They said that the one universal character flaw which always led to their downfall was not following through on their promises, on not doing something that they had promised, committed to do. There was an English professor long ago that wrote this. He said, character is the ability to carry out a resolution long after the mood in which it was made has left you. Character is that ability to carry out a resolution long after the mood in which it was made has left you. That second son had good intentions, but he never made it to the vineyard. Dale Carnegie, the famous motivational speaker, said that one of the most tragic characteristics of human nature is that all of us tend to put off living. We're all dreaming of a magical rose garden over the horizon instead of cultivating the roses that are blooming outside our windows right now. St. Paul invites us to put on the attitude of Christ, to have the mind of Christ, to have the heart of Jesus. So let us ask the Lord for that grace. Good intentions, wishful thinkings are not enough. Let us live out our faith by the way that we love for and care for each other.